There's a jar of honey sitting in a tomb in Egypt right now that's over 3,000 years old. Archaeologists tasted it. It was still good. That's not a metaphor, that's the actual shelf life of the right foods, stored the right way. Most of what's in your pantry is racing toward an expiration date. But a small group of foods doesn't play by those rules at all. Stored correctly, they last years, decades, in a few cases effectively forever. And almost every one of them is sitting on a normal grocery shelf for a couple of dollars. I've spent years figuring out exactly which ones are worth the space, and I'm going to show you 11 of them, counting up to the single best food you can stockpile, the one most people completely overlook. Let's get into it. Number 1. Honey. We have to start here, because honey is the closest thing to a truly immortal food that exists. That 3,000-year-old jar from the Egyptian tomb wasn't a fluke. It's chemistry. Honey is naturally low in moisture and high in acidity, two conditions where bacteria simply cannot survive. On top of that, bees add an enzyme that produces small amounts of hydrogen peroxide. The result is a food that, sealed and kept dry, does not spoil, ever. It will crystallize, turn thick and grainy over time. People throw it out thinking it's gone bad. It isn't. Set the jar in warm water and it returns to liquid, good as new. Store it sealed, at room temperature, away from moisture. That's the entire instruction. A jar of honey is calories, natural sweetener, and even a wound antiseptic in a pinch. $2 to $5 a jar. Buy several. Number 2. Salt. Salt doesn't expire for the same reason it's been used to preserve other food for 10,000 years. It's a mineral, not an organic material. There's nothing in plain salt for bacteria to feed on. A box of salt you buy today will be exactly as good in 50 years. One caveat. Iodized salt has additives that can fade over time, and table salt often contains anti-caking agents. For genuine long-term storage, plain non-iodized salt or sea salt is the better pick. Keep it dry, salt pulls moisture from the air and clumps, though even a clumped block is still perfectly usable. Break it up and move on. Salt isn't just seasoning, it's how you preserve meat, make food edible when you have nothing else, and replace what your body loses in heat. Under $1 a box. There's no reason not to have 10 pounds of it tucked away. Number 3. White rice. This is where most people get surprised, because they assume all rice is the same. It isn't. Brown rice goes rancid in about 6 months, the oils in the bran turn. But white rice, with that bran stripped away, is a different food entirely. Stored properly, white rice lasts 25 to 30 years. Some sealed batches have tested fine well beyond that. The key word is properly. Rice has two enemies: oxygen and moisture. Seal it in a food-grade bucket or a mylar bag with an oxygen absorber, keep it cool and dark, and you've essentially stopped the clock. White rice is pure, dense energy, over 1,600 calories a pound, and it stretches every other food you have. $1 a pound, sometimes less. Number 4. Dried beans. Beans are rice's perfect partner, and they store almost as long. Sealed away from oxygen and moisture, dried beans last 25 to 30 years and stay safe to eat far longer than that. There's one honest catch worth knowing. Very old beans get harder and take longer to cook, sometimes much longer. They're still perfectly safe and nutritious. You just need more water, more time, and ideally a pressure cooker to bring them back. Here's why beans matter more than almost anything else on this list. Rice gives you energy, beans give you protein. Put the two together and you have a complete protein, the nutritional backbone that's kept entire civilizations alive. A pound of dried beans costs $1 or $2 and yields a stunning amount of food once cooked. Store them exactly like rice, sealed, cool, dark, oxygen absorber in the bag. Between rice and beans alone, one person can survive a very long time. Number 5. Rolled oats. Oats are one of the most underrated long-term foods you can buy. Plain rolled or steel-cut oats, sealed in mylar with an oxygen absorber, store for 25 to 30 years. The only ones to avoid are the flavored instant packets. The added sugars and oils cut their lifespan dramatically. Stick with plain oats, and you have a food that's calorie-dense, packed with fiber, and incredibly versatile. Breakfast, flour, a thickener, even a base for bread. Cheap, filling, and they keep you full for hours. A few dollars for a canister, and that canister will outlast most of the appliances in your kitchen. Now, everything I'm showing you here is just one piece. The full system, exactly what to store, how much, and in what order is in my field manual. Links below. But back to number 6, because this one surprises everyone. Number 6, sugar. Sugar behaves exactly like salt. It's not that bacteria die in it, it's that they can't live in it at all. Pure white sugar has no moisture and no nutrients for microbes, so it never truly expires. Stored, sealed, and dry, it lasts indefinitely. Its only enemy is humidity. Sugar will absorb moisture and harden into a brick. That brick is still completely usable, break it apart, and it works exactly the same. Keep it sealed in an airtight container, and that won't happen at all. Beyond sweetening, sugar is fast energy, a preservative for fruit, and a key ingredient in baking and fermentation. A bag costs a couple of dollars. Like salt, it's one of those foundational staples where there's simply no reason not to keep plenty on hand. Number 7, powdered milk. Fresh milk is one of the fastest spoiling things in your fridge. Strip the water out of it though, and it becomes a different food entirely. Powdered milk, specifically the non-fat kind, stores for 20 years or more when sealed properly with an oxygen absorber. The fat is what goes rancid, so non-fat is the version you want for the long haul. This is the food that quietly solves a real problem. In a long emergency, dairy is one of the first things to vanish, and it's something kids especially need. Powdered milk gives you calcium, protein, and vitamin D in a shelf-stable form. Reconstitute it with water, and you have milk for drinking, cooking, or baking. Keep it cool, dark, and airtight. A box runs a few dollars and folds into more recipes than you'd expect. Number 8, dry pasta. Pasta gets overlooked because it feels too ordinary to count as a survival food. But plain dried pasta, no eggs, no added oil, stores for 30 years or more when it's sealed away from air and moisture. It's just milled wheat and water, dried hard. There's almost nothing in it to spoil. What makes pasta valuable is morale as much as nutrition. In a stressful, stripped-down situation, a hot, familiar meal does something for people that a handful of plain rice doesn't. Pasta is dense carbohydrate energy, it cooks fast, and it pairs with almost anything else on this list. Seal it in Mylar or a hard airtight container. The boxes it comes in offer no real protection. Cool, dark, dry, $1 a box, and it'll be good for decades. Number 9, hard liquor. This one raises eyebrows, but it earns its spot. Distilled spirits, vodka, whiskey, rum, anything 80 proof or higher never expire. The alcohol content is its own preservative. Unopened and sealed, a bottle stored today will be exactly the same in 50 years. Even opened, it'll hold for years. It just slowly loses a little strength. And in a serious situation, liquor isn't really about drinking. It's one of the most useful barter items in existence, compact, universally wanted, and it doesn't go bad. Beyond trade, high-proof alcohol is a wound disinfectant, a sterilizer, a fire starter, and a solvent. Keep it sealed, upright, away from heat and light. A few bottles tucked away cost little and do a lot of jobs at once. Number 10, bouillon and instant coffee. I'm grouping these because they do the same thing. They make everything else bearable. Bouillon cubes and granules, kept dry and sealed, last for years, well beyond their printed date. They're mostly salt, which you already know doesn't spoil. A single cube turns a pot of plain rice or beans into something that actually tastes like a meal. When your diet shrinks to a handful of staples, flavor stops being a luxury and becomes the thing that keeps people eating. Instant coffee belongs right next to it. Freeze-dried and sealed, it stores for decades, and in a hard stretch, the comfort and routine of a hot cup of coffee is worth more than its weight suggests. Both are cheap, both are tiny, both store almost forever. They're the small things that make a stockpile feel like food instead of rations. Number 11, white vinegar. Here's the one almost nobody puts on their list, and it's the most quietly valuable food you can store. White vinegar never expires. It's already an acid, there is nothing left in it to spoil, ferment, or break down. A jug you buy today will be exactly the same in 20 years. It may turn slightly cloudy or develop a harmless haze over time. That doesn't affect it at all. What makes vinegar the standout isn't that it lasts forever, It's that one cheap jug does the work of a dozen separate products. It's a food preservative. It's how you pickle vegetables and stretch a harvest through a winter. It's a cooking acid that brightens flat, repetitive food. And the moment you step outside the kitchen, it becomes a cleaning agent, a disinfectant, and a laundry aid, all without a single harsh chemical. Think about what that means in a long emergency. The store shelves are empty. You can't run out and buy cleaner, or pickling solution, or disinfectant. But a few jugs of white vinegar cover all of it. It preserves your food, it cleans your space, and it keeps things sanitary, the three things that quietly determine whether a stockpile actually keeps you healthy or just keeps you fed. And it costs about $2 a gallon. That's the whole reason it tops this list. Honey is more famous, rice and beans keep you alive. But vinegar is the multiplier, the single cheapest item that makes everything else on this list work better and last longer. Most people overlook it completely until the day they desperately wish they had some. Buy several gallons, you will use every drop. So how do you actually store all of this so it lasts the decades I've been promising? Because here's the truth that ties this entire list together. None of these foods last forever on their own. They last forever because of how you store them. Get the storage wrong and a 30-year food becomes a 2-year food. 3 enemies. Remember these and you've understood the whole game. Oxygen, moisture, and light. Every food on this list breaks down faster when exposed to any of the 3, and stops breaking down almost entirely when you remove all 3. Here's how you remove them. For the dry staples, rice, beans, oats, pasta, powdered milk, sugar, use food-grade Mylar bags with an oxygen absorber inside, then seal them in a hard bucket or bin. The Mylar blocks light and air. The oxygen absorber pulls out what little air is left. The bucket keeps out pests and moisture. That combination is what turns a grocery item into a decades-long reserve. For the rest, honey, salt, vinegar, liquor, bouillon, sealed airtight containers in a cool, dark place are enough. They're already inhospitable to spoilage. You're just keeping moisture and humidity out. One rule covers everything: cool, dark, dry. A basement or an interior closet beats a hot garage every time. Heat is the silent killer of shelf life. And date every container the day you store it, oldest to the front, newest to the back, so you rotate naturally over the years. Here's the honest bottom line. Every food on this list is cheap, sitting on a normal grocery shelf right now, and capable of outlasting almost everything else you own. You don't need a bunker or a fortune. You need a few buckets, a few absorbers, and a single afternoon. Most people never get around to it. They mean to, and then one day they wish they had. Start with one item this week. Just one. That's how every real stockpile begins. So out of all 11, which one are you starting with? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one.